Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I wanted to take a minute and show you the completed paths that I've done. These are flexible paths to accompany the flexible roads that I have on the site. Customer requested these as a variation to add more diversity to his table, and I've had a few other people who are interested in role-playing mention that they might be interested in these. So I finally completed the set, have a finished and flocked painted version, and I have incorporated them into an end cap, which is part of the ongoing end cap project. And there are several videos showcasing those in various forms, discussing what their purpose is. So you might want to pause this and go back and take a look at a couple of the end cap videos, as I won't be going over some of those older details in this one. So let's take a look at the paths first on their own, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. So first, perhaps we should take an overview of the pieces that are offered that will be sold as a set, and then probably broken up into a couple individual pieces so people could add sections if they want. So the first are two 12-inch sections, a 6-inch section, one intersection for the paths themselves, a little three-way intersection that meets the path edges all the way around, and one intersection, three-way intersection that joins the larger road pieces. Two 90-degree angles, one that's a long 90-degree, one that's a short, quick one, and one 45-degree angle. Give you a sense of that. So, talking about the pieces, now these are, first of all, I just want to say, these are shedding onto the table, but that's mainly because when I flock them, they get flock on the back. The rubber that is used for this is a little tacky at first, and so this sticks to it and sheds off as time goes on. So this is not really coming from the surface, as the surface has all been finished and sealed, and that stays on pretty well. Some of the foliage might shed just a little bit initially, as some of the little particles maybe haven't been firmly attached to each other. But once that's done, you won't see continued shedding. So I just wanted to explain that. But taking a look at each of the pieces in a little bit more detail, they've all been finished to match the roads, so they have a sort of sandy texture on it. And some of the areas I've added in a little raised up area, but it's subtle. It's not jaw-droppingly popping off the table, but that's kind of the way I wanted it. And you get a sense of the generic sort of look here. Many of the pieces incorporate small rocks like this here. And actually, somebody suggested in a previous video that I add some wood pieces to it, maybe like fallen limbs or something. Well, I kind of like that idea, so what I did, and I'm going to pull the light over here just a little bit. Oh, I'm going to try to pull the light over here. Okay, technical difficulties. Let's pull this light over here a little bit. There we go. So what I did is I used some, pieces of small, well, I don't know, they're logs at this scale, and attached them to the mold prior to pouring it. So these are molded on, and it's just, I don't know, it's kind of fun because they look like wood, but of course they're really cast out of this soft rubber. This is a Reoflex rubber, very durable urethane rubber, and also very, very pliable. And I was just really impressed with the detail that came out of those, and they paint up really well. Let me show you another one. Here's the three-way intersection with a little rock there and another fallen limb. Now, I debated how to paint these, and I ended up going with a brown color, even though wood, when it's really old and dry, tends to show more towards a gray. But people seem to really think of wood as brown, and it actually made it a little easier, as I could paint it up with some of the base colors, just painting over it as I paint the soil, and then do some washes to tint it down to a brown and change it and pick out some of the details. But there you can see the detail that fallen log has. I just think they came out fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Detail on the stone, and a little bit of what the foliage looks like. Set that aside here. Show you a couple more of these kinds of add-ons there. Gives you a sense of what the fallen log looks like here in the 6-inch section. And here on the 12-inch section, give you a sense of what that looks like. What I did to put these down is I actually sanded the bottoms of the logs flat so I could set them a little bit closer and get more soil contact, as of course I'm going to be molding these. So some of these have a little bit of soil pushed up along the edges, like it collected there. You know, it's plausible in my mind, but that was really a part to help make sure that the mold, the rubber, would not go under the silicone once I was making the mold. And I just love, look at that little knot there. It just, that I was really, I've never cast anything like this before, certainly in this rubber, and I wasn't really sure how it would come out, and it just exceeded my basic expectations. Really, really pleased with how those came out. And of course, just to give you another sense, a little close-up of some of the detail on the large path union here, the path to the road connection. And, oh, no, not and, oh, these are shedding everywhere. God, what a mess. Three, two, one. So I wanted to show the union here meeting with an existing road piece. Now this is a termination road section, so what I do is I partial pour it, and it produces an irregular edge. Every edge is going to be unique as a result, and it sort of just shows the road fading off, and I flock that in a little bit, but you can see it gives a good nice join here, and really overall very pleased with that. And there's a quick shot of a couple of the sections connected to each other as well, so you can just get a sense of how they look with their unions. And here you can see an end cap with the path incorporated into it. You know, brief description, the end caps are a raised platform designed to have boards stacked behind them to create a plateau. Give you a sense, you know. And of course, like I said, there are videos describing these in more detail in the back catalog of YouTube videos, so you might want to check those out. But basically, the customer wanted a path to be incorporated so that he could have the path coming off the top and the bottom of the plateau. And you know, this is finished in a similar scheme with rocks embedded into the side, and you know, foliage and flocking to match added to it. So putting the path down, this is you know, stitched together from several pieces, and you can see a few of the unions. It's hard to hide them perfectly because I painted the pieces individually and applied them after the major work was done on this, just prior to flocking, basically, once all the painting was done. Carries up to the top. But I think one of the things that is a challenge with this is because this is a raised surface, you know, I want to hide the join as well as I could, and I think that came out actually quite well on this. And also wanted to make it feel, you know, like it was sort of seamlessly attached to the piece as a whole, you know, with flocking and vegetation creeping onto it hither and thither. But overall, I was really pleased with how the path integrated into this piece. It did make for a slightly tight corner over here, you know, because I needed to have it. The customer wanted it on a 20-inch piece, so this is a 20-inch long section, and that really doesn't give me a lot of space to flatten this slope. So I've taken it from one corner to the other to try to maintain that sort of 23-degree slope or so that is, I forget actually what it is. I want to say it's around 23 degrees, where most miniatures are stable. This is not an entirely stable surface for all miniatures at all points, however. In case in point, we have Mr. Tippy McLean, and if you're unfamiliar with this miniature, it has a terrible center of gravity. The miniature leans very far back, so on this back angle, he's very, very tippy. So I use him as my sort of maximum, you know, bad case scenario. So you can see, you know, under the worst case scenario, in some spots he's stable, and in some spots, you know, he's not. A little angling, and he gets there. So this is, you know, Is it going to be stable at all points for all miniatures? Not really, if you have the miniature facing in an odd way. But of course, if you have him facing up the hill, he's fine. You know, so it's really just those bad poses at certain angles, and then you get a problem. See, he's leaning so far back, but if we turn him like that, he's fine. You know, so I felt like that's about as gradual a slope as I can produce on a single section, 20 inches, which means that to get that slope right, I have to push this corner out really far here. And actually, looking at it from this angle, I'm going to add a couple pieces of foliage there and hide that little seam there. I'll do that later before I pack it. But in any case, you know me, Mr. Picky here. But so I threw a couple rocks up against this to, you know, give it the impression that this is a shored up area. And when the other end cap joins it, then it will meet right at this line here. So it's a little bit more of an angle than I would have preferred, but it is a tight squeeze to get this all onto one 20-inch section. So some compromises invariably need to be made. So that gives you a look at the paths and how I've incorporated into this project. If you're interested in ordering them, they'll be available both as the unfinished, which is what I call it on the website, meaning it's just the raw rubber coming right out of the mold, as opposed to finished, which is me flocking and foliaging them. You know, for those of you who are interested in purchasing them unfinished, you know, they're fairly easy to paint. I basically give them a coating, not even primer, of Rust-Oleum, you know, paint right out of the can, and then what I do after that is I just do some dry brushing. I use a soft brush, however, as the rubber is relatively soft. So if you use a stiff brush, you'll be knocking, you know, the bits over. So you want a very soft brush, some light dry brushing to bring it up. Use a little PVA to attach your foliage and flock, and give it a little watered down PVA spray afterwards to seal that, and you're pretty much ready to go. So it's not a hard project for people to take on, and it's a lot more cost effective to purchase things unfinished as opposed to having me do some of that high-end labor at the end there. So just options for you. You can always visit TerranScapes.com to see all of the available options. And one thing I didn't mention is that the you saw the road termination piece that I have produced for the road sections. I didn't produce any of those at this point for the paths, but those are made using the same molds that I have. I just make an incomplete pour and let it fill irregularly at the end. So if you're interested in path terminations, just send me a note. It's mike@terranscapes.com, and you place your order, and we can work out how to add a couple of those in. And once I get an order for a couple of those, I'll shoot some photos and include those on the site. So pictures of these will be up on the site by the time this video goes live, and I'll put a link down in the description to the pictures of those so you can see them. And I want to thank you once again for joining me, and keep your eye on the channel for another video. This one will be another unique video, which means that my unique videos are becoming less unique. So keep your eye out for that one, and I'll talk to you soon.